if you get a mentor and you just do exactly what they say and just don't question it and just put in the work and let them guide you, let them give you good steps, it's very hard to not make it. That's how I got so good at writing. I was literally speaking to my recent client and they were like, we value you a lot. You're very important to us. You're responsible for the revenue here. Without revenue, we don't have a business. It's still kind of crazy to me. Like, you get paid thousands just to write on a freaking Google Doc and send it to someone.
How do you actually get better if it's not a coaching program, if it's not a course?
I use the famous UIB formula, which is use your own brain. And Matthew, if I'm being honest, it's one of the best things you've ever taught me. Like, ever since you taught me that, I started figuring out so much stuff for myself. Like, I was shocked. Don't expect to be perfect for your clients. They would rather you make mistakes and learn with them and learn together than you just going in and being perfect. Like, they don't expect that at all.
The amount of times I've had to tell people, like, hey, what would you say to this? How would you reply to this? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? But most of the time it's like, okay, I don't know. What do you think you should do based on what you think? Give me some ideas. And usually one of the 3 ideas that somebody comes up with is good enough.
A lot of people say they want to climb, but then they're just sending, 10 copy and paste outreaches. And they're like, oh, bro, why isn't this working? It's like, no, it's not that's not working, it's you're not working. And it goes back to the business model idea. Dropshipping works, trading works, affiliate marketing works. You can make money with everything, really. It just depends on if you're working. So I feel like the same principles apply to outreach.
You got into the industry. I mean, like, how did you find the clients that you're working with today?
It's hard. It's hard because there's a lot of bad clients. Like, you have to really be careful. It's one of my little secrets that I used to close is...
All right. So today we're here with Henry Wager, one of the rising stars in the Email Dojo. And Henry has been crushing it this year, like started the year off just breaking into copywriting and now working with like what you recently closed a $50 million direct response business, writing all kinds of copy for them and making all kinds of results for your clients, writing emails every single day and just really crushing it. Like what is your income at like every month now?
Yeah, it's around 10K a month. It's not like, 10K every month. Some months it's 13, some months it's 9K, but let's just say 10K for simplicity.
Amazing. So earlier this year, breaking in with the best clients and now working with some of the best in the business. So yeah, today I'm here to interview Henry and he's going to share with us all of his secrets. He's kindly agreed to do that.
Of course, man. Made to spill the secrets, anything.
Amazing. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Like, tell us, how did you get into copywriting? How did you discover the industry?
Well, started out by being sucked into Andrew Tate's sales process, into Hustlers University. And nice. Yeah, man, I think it's like the usual story. I was trying out everything, affiliate marketing, drop shipping, copywriting, everything. And obviously when you do that, you don't get any results. So it was like, I was doing that for around 5 months, I think, just like bouncing like every single business model. And then I was like, okay, I've got no results. Been doing this thing for 5 months. I made $0. I just need to stick to one thing. I need to pick something and I need to stick to it. And for whatever reason, I picked copywriting and just stuck with it ever since. And yeah, that's how I got started, really. I've always been creative. I've always been, good at writing. And I wanted to find kind of a way to monetize that. So then I was like, okay, why not try copy? And then it was around January of 2023, I believe, where I was just like, right, that's literally it. I'm just going to go all in. If it doesn't work, then I don't know. But I guess we made it work, right? So
How did you know that copywriting was going to be the thing? Like once you made the first bit of money?
Well, I mean, let's talk about that first bit of money. When it hits your account, I remember it was $125, I think, that first ever payment. Fell to the floor. I was like, okay, this finally works. Like, it took me a while to get going, let's just say. But once it finally hits, you're just like, man, it's real. It's real. It's in front of you. It's not just like some fallacy anymore. It's actually real. Mm-hmm. So that to me was crazy. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a super high value skill, in my opinion. Like, it's literally salesmanship in print. I know there's that famous quote, but it is like, I've noticed like in real life, I'm just so much better at persuading people to do things and stuff. Like, it's such an applicable skill, in my opinion, in every area of life. And it's also a skill that business owners are going to pay you thousands and thousands per month for. I was literally speaking to my recent client and they were like, we value you a lot. You're very important to us because you you're kind of the brains behind, like, you're responsible for the revenue here. Like, you're one of the guys who's responsible for the revenue. Without revenue, we don't have a business. So, do your best, and we're going to keep you on for a very, very long time, or something along those lines. But yeah, you are, when you can persuade people, when you can literally write words on a screen and from those words make people whip out their credit card and buy something, like, it's a nice feeling, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, when I started writing some copy for business and we sent out the first email to 100,000 people, I kind of got a little bit nervous. And I was like, damn, like, my stuff is going to be in front of all those people. I don't know if that was a struggle for you. Was that something that you
had to go? Really, man? No, not really. I was always confident in my writing. So the more people I could get it out to, the better.
How did you get confident in your writing?
I invested in myself. It's a very simple equation. I always say to everyone is get a mentor and just do exactly what they say. And one of those mentors was you. So if you turned around to me and you were like, at the start of my journey, you were like, Henry, you need to read 3 sales letters a day and you need to write 10 emails a day. Like, I probably wouldn't have even questioned it. I would have struggled to get it done, but like, it's just honestly, for whoever is listening to this, if you get a mentor and you just do exactly what they say and just don't question it and just put in the work and let them guide you, let them give you the steps, like, it's very hard to not make it, Like, that's how I got so good at writing so quick, especially putting in the reps. Like, on average, like, I write a lot of copy every day. So I can't just say, like, I write like 5 emails a day, because I do a lot of forms of copy, like VSLs, webinars, emails as well. So, I mean, if we're talking in email terms, I'm probably right now writing around maybe 5 to 7 emails per day, and I'm getting them all reviewed. This is the thing. And I remember when I joined the dojo, you had this saying, it was like action, feedback, consistency, or something along those lines. And It's so true. That's all you need. Like, if we're just talking writing emails, it's like, take action, write the emails, get feedback on the emails, and then just do that consistently. And you're literally just going to get good so quickly, like, you won't even believe it. And now, I have business owners that pay me a lot of money just to, like, it's still kind of crazy to me. Like, you get paid thousands just to write on a freaking Google Doc and send it to someone, like, it's crazy, but it's a reality now.
Yeah, well, the value that you provide them is, through the roof too. Like, to think that the words that we use have such an impact, it is pretty cool. But I like to go back to what you said about mentorship, because you say, like, you find a mentor, and if you just stick with that mentor and you just do everything that they say, you're going to get results. Isn't there also, like, a downside to that if you pick the wrong mentor? Like, what if you work with somebody that's not like well, I suppose there's a lot there. Like, how do you find the person in the first place that like, if I follow this person to a T, I'm actually going to get the result? Like, how do you find that actually?
Of course, it's hard, especially in this industry when, let's say there's a few, fake gurus out there who aren't all that they say they are. So you have to be careful, 100%. I mean, I don't really have strict guidelines. Like, as soon as I got into the dojo, as soon as I started getting mentored by you, as soon as I heard what everyone was saying about you, like, there was no negativity whatsoever. Like, I knew, and you were someone, and this is something that I look for, you were someone who was actually doing the thing that you were teaching. You were still working with clients. You were still writing emails. You weren't just like, fully coaching, which, I totally respect. And you always want to learn from someone, doing the actual thing and teaching the thing instead of just teaching the thing. So that's something I always look for. And I just look for if this person really has walked the path that I want to walk as well. Writing really good copy, earning a lot of money, working with great clients, all of these things, right? Like, if their life aligns with your kind of, I don't like to say like dream life, like, the outcomes that you want, I think you're in a good spot, if you just stick to those two things. But I think, a major thing for me is if the person you're learning from is actually still practicing the thing, because I've learned from people who, stop practicing the thing. Let's call the thing copywriting in this case. They stopped practicing copy and they just went all in on coaching, and they were, let's just say, the worst investments of my life. So I always look at, are they still doing copy? Are they still writing for clients? That's, very important to me. And obviously, as I said before, are they actually, or have they lived the life that you want to live? Those are the important things to me for sure.
So you actually had a couple of cases where you spent money, you didn't get a return from a mentor as well as also finding a mentor. So, I mean, I think that's a good thing. I spent like tens of thousands on courses and coaching that didn't turn into anything for me. But, there's always some lessons that you can pull from it. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, how do you, if you take action and you get feedback and you're consistent, I think you get the result, almost always, if you're getting the right feedback. But if you've got, like if you have a coach that's like got the best results, better results than all the students, I think sometimes that's also a red flag for me, because I feel like if the coach is the person that makes the most money and then the students, like all the students don't make enough, like as much money, then it's like there's sort of a thing there, like where the system is only good as the person that's teaching it, Whereas I've had a coach that his clients make more money, or maybe not more money, but they're like equally as good after a few years. And I think that's something I've started to look more into, because like when I look back on the recent investments I made last year, like I invested $15,000 and I didn't really get a return for it at all. I was pretty upset about that investment, but thinking back, I was only focusing on the person that I was investing in. And I was like, I like what they're doing. I like their business. I like what their life looks like. And I want to learn from them what they've been up to. But I didn't really pay any attention to any like testimonials or any of the results of the people that they've worked with. And I think that was like this, I literally, as we were having this conversation, I think I just realized that like I didn't actually bother to look at the testimonials enough, because you kind of dismiss them at one point. I think everybody sees testimonials, they see screenshots, they see all these numbers and stuff, and we kind of just dismiss it because we're so used to seeing them online. But I think it's worth actually sitting and looking at them and being like, what is this person actually saying? Like, what is the number that they actually got? And then you can actually start to see like the quality of, and like even the way people describe things in testimonials too. You can also see like the dynamic of the relationship between the person and the person that you're learning from.
So 100%. And that's actually a point I forgot to mention is, let's say before I got into the dojo, like still to this day, I've never heard a negative thing about the dojo, like ever. Like everyone, and I remember you told me on our first ever call, that's why the success rate is so high, because, well, first of all, everything in there, it just works. It's simple as. But second of all is, there's very, very high quality people in there. And yeah, like the wins I was seeing, I remember before I joined, you sent me like the success document where you have like all the testimonials. I was looking at that, I was like, wow, these, like this, I've just got to jump in, because that is a big thing for me. And I can't believe I forgot to mention that is, I do definitely recommend anyone listening to this, look at what the other people are doing in there as well. Because sure, the coach matters because they're the person teaching you, obviously, but it's also if the system they're teaching is applicable to others. It's not just if it's applicable to this coach, because it could have just worked one time in one niche and, that's it. But if it works and it's replicable for multiple people, like if we look at the dojo, for example, obviously it's been replicable for multiple people because there's people earning 20,000, 15,000 a month, 10,000 a month, like countless people inside of there. So yeah, I think that's something big too.
Yeah, there's definitely a challenge with that. And I think a lot of coaching today, it's also like the opportunities or the strategies that you learn, they kind of stop working after the next 100 people have used the same strategy. And so a lot of coaches, not even in the copywriting space, just in general, like a lot of coaches, they have a strategy. Here's how to make money on Amazon. The first 100 people that use that strategy, they get the result because it's a competitive edge. And then like another 100 people join the program, and now it's no longer as effective because it's kind of been like saturated, or like it's been used so many times. The same with like outreach, right? To get a client for copywriting, it's like when somebody starts their program, I know like the people I think of that have a coaching program as a copy coach, within the first few batches of clients that they closed always have the highest success rate, their first group of clients. It's like maybe the first 20, 30 people have like a really good success rate, and then they just roll with that, and they have these testimonials from those people, roll again and again and again, repeat those testimonials. And like the strategy stopped being effective, and I think that's something that people need to be careful about with like with clients. Is like, I mean, I've seen some people post stuff on their profile a screenshot of a win, and it's a story, right? So it feels like it's recent. But like that story is actually that testimonial is like 3 years old. So it's like, well, like is it really as effective still? So I want to bring this up because you mentioned like get a mentor and like really follow everything that they say. But it's like you got to be careful that why are you working? Why are you learning from somebody? Like, what's the point of what you're learning from them for? Because everybody has a different thing that you learn from them, right? Like you can get a course to learn how to write better copy for the purpose of learning how to write better copy, but then don't expect to get clients from that course, and don't expect to buy a course from 3 years ago on how to get clients and expect it to work in 2024. Like you need to be able to decide like what is the purpose of your investment. And so today, like most of the time, what I invest in is like a one-on-one person to give me the direct feedback, because when you're already familiar with the industry that you're in, the bigger picture, you don't usually need as many courses because courses have like much more of a broad appeal. Like they build the course for like general, application.
Of course. Yeah, I think that is a big disclaimer. Get a mentor and do what they say, but make sure it's the right mentor because, yeah, I mean, I feel you. I've also lost money in investments, and I mean, I don't really care. I just see opportunities and lessons from it because, what's the point about, like, why would I go crying about an investment I made? Like, it's done, whatever. But yeah, taking the opportunities and the lessons from it. So if you can find the right mentor, this is for anyone listening to this. If you can find the right mentor, then I would stick with them because there's not many of them around. Like, recently I've joined some programs just on like a monthly basis, and I just find myself like canceling just after the first month because the quality of information and education in this industry is, let's just say, is not very up to par. Let's just say that the marketing is usually a lot better than the actual product itself, and not many people invest in, client success, customer success. So yeah, be careful, try stuff out. But yeah, if you find the right one, if you find a good mentor, just stick with them because, as I said, there's not many of them. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there's not too many for sure. So once you have the right mentor, okay, let's progress here a little bit. Like once you got that mentor and you're working on your skills, like how do you actually get better if it's not a coaching program, if it's not a course? So many copywriters, they go and join a course. They're like, all right, I will join this course. That's how I'll improve. I need to do this thing for a client. What course can I buy to help me to do that? How do you get better at stuff when you need to deliver for a client and there's no course on the material that you need to get good at?
Well, first of all, I use the famous UIB formula, which is use your own brain. And Matthew, if I'm being honest, it's one of the best things you've ever taught me. Like ever since you taught me that, I started figuring out so much stuff for myself. Like I was shocked. Whenever someone comes to me and they're like, yo, what are your biggest lessons in business? I actually tell them that's one of them, like UIB, because I didn't know how much I knew myself. And I literally have so many people ask me, what should I reply here? What do you think of this copy? What do you think of this headline? And I'm like, what do you think? And then they give me an answer and they're like, okay, so you knew already, right? So I think a lot of people just underestimate how much they actually know themselves. So that is one thing I will say is I use my own brain in a lot of situations. Like, for example, I think it was a little over like 3 days ago, a client hit me up. We had to run like an emergency webinar basically. And I've never written a webinar before, but I was just like, okay, cool. So I've written a lot of VSLs. It's pretty much like a VSL, just, a bit longer. And yeah, I whipped it up within 48 hours and they absolutely loved it. And it's going to run today and it's going to absolutely crush. And I know it. And yeah, I just used my own brain, used the VSL structures I've been using. Got some help from some actual dojo members. I reached out to them. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So my first part of my answer would be use your own brain because you know a lot more than you think you know. But second of all, as you said before, you prefer investing in one-to-one feedback versus, programs. And that is what I would say is, once you get to a certain point, like it's exactly as you said, you start to just see the bigger picture of the industry and everyone's kind of saying the same thing in the courses. They're putting a little twist on it, but it's just all pretty much the same. Like there is high quality info, but I think, yeah, the next step really for me is especially if, as you said, I have a problem for a client that I can't solve with any program or course, I just pay someone for a one-to-one call, one-to-one feedback, and I just get it that way because, once you reach a certain point, I think the one-to-one feedback always beats, the programs and the courses you can join. And, I actually was speaking to you about this when I signed my new client. I was like, what do you think I should do? And you said, pay someone one-to-one first month to copy chief you. And it's so true. I mean, when you're in a tough spot, when you really need personalized advice, you can't really go to a course. You can't really go to a program because it's just a bunch of videos, really. Okay, maybe they have a community, but it's not going to be like the highest quality thing ever. So, I would just say UYB, use your own brain because you can figure out a lot more than you think, and just pay for one-to-one feedback.
Crazy. It's like you use your brain. In 2024, that's going to be the, that's going to be the thing. It's that like people can join a course and it's like, oh, use your brain is like the ultimate secret. It's actually quite ridiculous how much people have like forgot how to use their brain. I think it's the amount of times I've had to tell people like, hey, what would you say to this? How would you reply to this? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And sometimes it makes sense, like if you've got zero experience, but most of the time it's like, okay, I don't know. What do you think you should do based on what you think? Give me some ideas. And usually one of the 3 ideas that somebody comes up with is good enough. It's like, so if you're in a situation like, you're listening to this or watching this and you're thinking like, how do I do this, this, and this? It's like, well, use your brain. Think about 3 potential ways to get what you want, or the 3 potential solutions, and then just compare your 3 options and then go with one of them. And more often than not, it's pretty close to the right way to go. It's just people don't want to think about it too much. Why do you think people don't want to think about it?
Energy, too much energy, because they just want to. I think because let's keep taking because the dojo is one of the only masterminds I'm in, so we'll keep using it as an example. Like there's a lot of high quality people in there. There's a lot of people who know what they're talking about. So I think the frame of mind is, hey, I could come up with an answer myself, but these people know way better than me. So instead of me coming up with a mediocre answer, I'll just ask the people that are better than me, and they'll just give me a better answer anyways. And I think that is the frame of mind also that, people just, they try and rely on others too much because, like energy, and they just don't think they don't have the self-belief. In my opinion, they don't have the self-belief because they're like, oh, if I write this email sequence and it doesn't do well, then it's all my fault. But I feel like part of people wants to shift that responsibility on others. So the thing doesn't go well, then they can be like, oh, well, it wasn't me that actually advised myself on it. It was him. So people do want to, delegate responsibilities all the time. Like, I don't know, man. They just don't want to keep themselves accountable. Energy, it's a mixture of things. And I think I was one of these guys at one point. This was a while ago, but I kept asking everyone everything. Like, what should I do in this situation? And then once I heard about UYB, I tried it, and I was like, dang, like...
Use your brain. Well, once you heard about the idea of using your brain, life changed.
That was it, man. No guru is needed. Just use your brain. And I've just used it so many times, dude. So many times. It's a lifesaver.
Do you think that maybe that's also part of it? That the gurus or the people that have the information that they're selling, that their whole business is dependent on people buying more information and needing them for the next step. Do you think that that's potentially, infiltrated the market and people think like, I need information for the next step, but it's like the guru it's like they need their people to think that so that they can keep selling stuff.
100%. Yeah, I think the market's, I think the market's been conditioned to that now because, everyone's, what they're trying to do is like create a knowledge gap. It's like, hey, I know this much, you know nothing. So you have to join this to come and actually get that knowledge. And I think that's what's causing this as well, because a lot of people think they need to rely on other people for information. It's not in my own head, so I need to go buy this. I need to go buy this. I think that's also why a lot of people go and buy a lot of courses. This was me as well. I think it was October of last year. Like I was just buying courses like there was no tomorrow. I was like, I need this one. And then I realized like they all kind of just say the same thing. So I stopped doing that. And like I just got more one-to-one feedback at that point because sure, it just keeps going back to UIB. Like you already know what to do. It's just if you sat down and thought about it for 5 minutes, if you sat down on a piece of paper and thought, okay, what do I need to do in this situation? You wrote it all out, like you would come up with a pretty decent answer. And then also when you go to people and ask for help, you already have like a predisposed answer. You've already got something there and you kind of just want them to check. I feel like that's a lot better, as you said, like the 3 potential ideas. Like you list out what you want to do already, so you kind of have direction. When you come to someone and you're like, okay, you know, what should I do in this situation? It's like there's no context, there's no thinking of that person. Like they haven't put any thought or energy into it. So we can just tell it's kind of a lazy question. And if you ask these questions to the wrong people, they can actually get annoyed at you. Like if you start asking bad questions, that's not the best way to build a relationship with someone. You know, I was guilty of this. I'll be honest. Like I was talking with, let's say, I'm not going to mention any names, but like a decent copywriter. Like a lot of people know him in the industry, and I kind of asked him a dumb question, and he called me out on it. And I was like, dang, you know, like that's not going to help my relationship with him. You know, so if you go around asking bad questions with no energy or thought behind them, you just want to push it off to the other person. It's really not a good way to establish connections. And in this industry, we're in a people industry. You know, it's all about connections, your reputation, relationships. So, yeah, that's not the smartest way of communicating, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely can get a little bit tiresome when someone asks me, what would you do? And then like this long, detailed question. It's like, I'm not sure. What would you do? It's you know, like I think that there's always a time for it. I mean, because I was also like that when I first got started, but you need to grow past it to the point where you don't need to constantly be asking people for the operational details of what you're doing in business. You know, like a lot of the conversations I have with my friends that are doing pretty well in business, you know, I'd say like a couple of them are making more than $1 million a year take home. A few of them are making multiple millions per year. And then a few more are making, you know, just a little bit more, a little bit less than $1 million, but they have like a very, very, like they have complete control of their routine. So these are people I look up to, you know, as a business owner. I'm like, I would like to build something like them. The conversation never revolves around operational details. It's never about the little parts of what they're doing. It's always zoomed out. And I think part of that, I think so. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think part of it is that the use your brain sort of concept, you know, UIB concept is like, they're just solving that stuff anyway. So like, it's not really something that is a topic of conversation. But when you're talking about big things, you're zooming out to the bigger picture. Like that stuff is more what people would want to be talking about when they have momentum, you know?
100%. I agree with you. And to be fair, if worse comes to worse, you can always pay someone. Like okay, let's take a tech problem, like as you said, like kind of the operational things. Like if we're talking tech problems, you know, and these technical issues, just go pay someone on $5 or $10 and the problem's already solved. Like you don't need to go running around asking 30 people. Just literally go to Fiverr, search up your problem, pay someone $10 or whatever rate they want, and they're going to fix it for you. It's very, like I've done that countless times. And you know, if you're not willing to, you know, if you're willing, to put like 2 hours of your time in trying to solve this problem, asking 30 people about it, rather than just literally putting down $10 and giving it to someone else, then I don't really know, man, because there's always a better way to solve your problem. And asking everyone with no thought or energy behind the question, like it's just the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe another part of it is like self image from a different perspective, where it's not like, you know, I'm not good enough, I don't know the answer, but it's like, I want to be able to do this myself. Like I don't want, like if I can't make my own CV, then it's like I should be able to do that. And like I can't, you know, like I don't really know how to use Canva. Well, I probably could figure it out, you know, but like I don't want to figure it out. I just paid somebody on Fiverr to design my most recent copy CV, you know? So like somebody asked me like, how do you do a CV? It's like, I don't know. Like I tell people in the dojo, like create a good CV, but don't ask me how to actually create the details. I'll just show you some good examples of what a good CV looks like. And then you go and create one and then use your brain, create one. and then hire somebody on Fiverr to like finalize the product, right? But I think that might be it as well. Is like people want to feel like they're able to do the entire process. And I don't know if you actually need it. I think you need to know what you're good at and what you should focus on, like for yourself, because there's so many things that you could learn. There's so many things that you could do. And if you try to do all of them all at once, I think you're going to struggle, So like, what got you to realize like email copy was like your strong suit and the copy that you write today?
Yeah, of course. I think, like, first of all, before I get into that, like what you mentioned, like playing into your strengths and letting go of the ego, super important in business, in my opinion, because like you can't do it all. Like I've tried like media buying a bit before. I'm just not good at it. So I'm just going to get someone else to do it or ask someone else for advice. Like I'm not trying to be the hero and do everything. There's a reason why, business owners have media buyers, copywriters, video editors. It's like there's not one guy doing everything. It's because everyone has individual strengths, right? So I think for me, email copy and just copy in general has always been my strength because, I really do like writing. Like when I get into the flow, I literally just can't stop. Like it just idea after idea after idea. And I don't know, man, I find it very fun. Like it's super funny to me as well. Like I'm always laughing, as you say as well. Like I'm always laughing when I write copy because it's like, what even is this? Like I'm just writing some BS down and like people are going to buy, like it's crazy. But yeah, I think I've also always been a very, very creative person, like, thinking up new things. Like I do like, sort of, step-by-step mechanical processes where you just do this. But copy is the complete opposite. It's like you can take it in any direction possible. It's all down to your creativity, sorry. And I think that is a big part of it for me because, as I said, I've always loved being creative. Like I remember when I was in school, I was always like quite a good writer, like in class and stuff. And I was like, at one point I was like, okay, how do I monetize this? And then, by coincidence, I found copywriting and it was like a match made in heaven. So yeah, I think the creativity in me just loves the process of it.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of copywriters, they come from a creative background. I find that the ones that don't come from a creative background, they tend to struggle a little bit more in the beginning to break away from like the rules that they think marketing should be followed by. Like it's not always about the rules. And I think this is also where another reason why I think people struggle to, use the UYB formula, use your brain, because there's like a preconceived idea that this is how it should be. So like, I better ask because there is a right way to do it. And it's like, not really. I don't know if there is a right way to do it. Like, what's the best way to write an email? I don't know. Test. Come up with something you think makes sense based on what's already worked. Make an educated guess. See how it goes. If it goes well, do more of that. If it doesn't go well, don't do more of that, But I do think many people, especially the ones that don't come from a creative field, when they enter the copywriting industry, they do feel like that sort of, like there must be a right way. Have you seen that with any copywriters you've worked with?
100%, always. And this is something I learned from the dojo as well, and this is something I tell people a lot, is, exactly what you just said. When someone asks you, all right, let's say a question, oh, how much should I charge for reels? I'm thinking $100 per reel. I'm like, okay, go test it. See what it does. If they accept $100 per reel, then it's probably an acceptable fee. If they completely ghost you and they never get back to you, maybe you overcharged a bit. I don't know, right? But go and test it, go and see. And it's the same with marketing. It's like, cool, this is a good email. And I remember you said this on one of our coaching calls. It's like, I think you were reviewing some ads and you were like, cool, I mean, these are good ads, but we're never going to know if they're actually good until you go and run them and put money on them and push them out to Facebook. Because then we'll know, then we have the data and then we can actually see. And this is something I'm seeing also with the biggest businesses, like, okay, so for example, my clients who do, 4 million a month, like the data tracking is just so on point. Like they have numbers to the cent. They know exactly what the data is, what it's doing, where it is, like, and I always see it and they're always testing things, always doing, then they never go off of, they never make decisions emotionally. It's always based out of logic. And that is a big thing for me as well. Like going and testing something instead of just being like, oh no, this wouldn't work. But like, how would you know? If you haven't tested something, then you're never, ever, ever going to know. And I think, a lot of people think there are, rules to do copywriting or rules to write an email or a sales letter. Like, there are structures, sure, but your creativity has to be a big part of it. And that's why, the testing process is big in this industry, because if there's a step-by-step process to something, it pretty much either works or it doesn't. Like, there's not much testing that needs to be done. But with copywriting, there are a million different ways to write an email. So you're never going to know if it's going to perform well until you go out, you test it, and send it out to the actual list, right? So completely agree with that.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, because if they have so much testing and they have so much data and they know that, like, to the cent, why would you need that if copywriting is something you can just solve? If it's like this works, this doesn't work. If it was solvable, they wouldn't need all of that data to, like, help them make decisions, because it would just be written, it'd be done. But it's like that in itself proves that we don't have the answer until we have the data, and like every industry responds differently. And the interesting thing about copy, I think you're going to notice this more and more as well, like as you spend more time in the space, is that the message evolves in the same industry over the time that people get exposed to that message. So like an email I wrote 3 or 4 years ago, and this is also something, I guess, another issue with courses from a few years ago, is like you can go through a course and it's like, this is how a good email sounds. But now today, it's like that everybody said that for 3 years. So like everyone reading the emails now, they're like, I've heard that before. It doesn't sound so good. So as a copywriter, you're not only going to be, creating things that are interesting and fresh, but you also have to keep up to date with where the awareness level is of your market. How do you go about doing that as a copywriter for some of the clients that you work with? If they have so much money that they're putting behind, their business, and there's like so many people reading their stuff, like how do you keep coming up with fresh, compelling content?
Well, I think, what you say, like, you always have to come up with fresh content. Before I dive into how I do it, it's like people are getting very bored of all the angles. Like, everyone's just recycling the same thing. And I remember I was looking through my inbox. I have an inbox where I've just signed up to a bunch of guru lists, like 100 plus. And I was going through all the emails and to look for swipes. I couldn't find any swipes after like 200 emails. Everyone puts out the same boring things over and over again. It's, everyone's been asking me this, and, it's not this, it's actually this. It's like they all sound basically the same. So I'm a big fan of using the news, especially in the financial space. Like, one of my clients is in the financial space. So I just have a website where it just, gives me the most up-to-date crypto news and stuff. And that's, where I find news about Trump and stuff like that, and just really cool angles that you can just twist. So I think the news is very underrated, and I think because everyone's been exposed to Andrew Tate, don't watch the news, they're trying to feed you lies. And yeah, sure, they are, but like you can use it for some emails. So I'm definitely a big fan of that.
Yeah.
And number 2 is also stories. Like, not many people do story emails anymore. I feel like number 1 is because they overthink them and they are a bit harder to write than just the casual, value email. But finding stories of your client and actually using those, it comes up for really fresh content. Because, if there was someone in my inbox giving me a good story email each week, like, I would 100% read it. And, I think the point is proven that humans remember stories. Like, they remember them so well. You're not going to remember the 3 best tips for copywriting email, but you're going to remember a banging story email. Like, I have story emails that I read over a year ago, 6 months ago, that as I'm saying it now, they're starting to pop up in my head because they were just so good. So I think number 2 is the stories. And yeah, just really finding out what your audience cares about, what they actually value. And to, if we were going to go into the depths of it, like, you can, if you go deep into sales calls and testimonials from your current customers for your client, like, you can find this stuff. But if you're trying to give value to your audience, like, not a lot of people don't really know what that means, and it's all about, I think, like, giving them what they actually care about. Maybe they don't care about the top 3 tips to sign clients. Like everyone thinks that's value, but is it? Like, you need to actually, there's no real way of seeing until you test it, right? Going back to that point. But it's all about, diving into testimonials, sales calls, diving into the depths of it, and really just seeing what they value and then just crafting content around that. I think those are the main 3 for me, So just to recap: the news, story emails, and, actually genuinely giving value and content that people care about and are going to read every day. Because there are newsletters that I read every day, and there have been, some gurus that I used to read every day, not anymore because their content got a bit dry. But like there were times when I was reading someone's emails word by word every single day. So I do know that it happens, but you have to really get it right. And if you're a good copywriter, then I think you'll get it right.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that finding out what people care about is such an important part of this, because I had a list that I was working, was it a year and a half ago? I remember we sent an email to them and we're like, what's your number one question about opportunity, about this industry? And I was expecting a lot of questions about like startup capital and like how to do it and how to make money from it. And 90% of them were saying, how do I get started? How do I start? The number one word was start. I never expected them to say that. Like how to start blank, how to start blank, how to get started, how to start. It's like, wow, what an interesting insight that they were all asking that. So I started changing the messaging. The messaging before was like, how to build this business opportunity, how to build this, how to grow this, how to increase your income with this. And I stopped saying those things and I started saying how to start a opportunity. And like this small thing really affected the open rates and the response rates in the emails. Like people really started to click more. Such a small little thing, like just the word start, and like getting little nuances like that is a game changer for clients, especially when you have a massive account. And another thing that I like to do is I like to look at the 2 or 3 top businesses in the industry. And this is like a really I guess you could say it is a bit of a cheat code, because a lot of people will go and say like, oh, I must go research on like Amazon, look at the reviews on Amazon, look at Reddit, go on Google, look at YouTube. It's like, yeah, you can look on social media, but one of the things that you can do is sign up to the top 2 to 3 businesses in the industry that have like the majority of the client base, like most people buying. Go sign up to their lists, go and look at their content and see how they talk to the prospect. Study the language and the words that they use to talk to the prospect. And all you have to do is take those words and mix them with the voice of your clients, mix them with the voice of how your product is unique. And now you've got very, very compelling marketing without actually having to do like crazy deep research. Because a lot of the time it like pushes copywriters into a place of, it gets really exhausting, And I think it's like, well, everybody sounds the same. So all this research, now everybody, you sound the same as everybody else as well. And then it's like, you're not really sure what you should be saying, but if you go look at the top businesses, they're usually saying something slightly unique or like slightly different to everybody else. And that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's something you actually told me. I remember we were on a coaching call and you were like, I won't mention the names, but do you know these guys? And I was like, no, I don't. And I realized they were selling the exact same opportunity as my client, and I never knew. And they were like some, super big in the space. And after that, like writing emails just got easier and easier because I saw the language they were using, the stats, the testimonials, etc. So I just, I didn't, steal it, but I took inspiration from it, started using a bit of their language. And especially with the big guys in the space, like you pretty much know what they do works because they're just spending so much on ads every day that is just ridiculous. And I've seen some ridiculous ad spends in the space. If you're spending that much money, you kind of got to be sure that your stuff works. So if you're looking at big players, you can almost guarantee that the language they're using, the style of copy, their funnel and stuff like that, everything is, obviously it's not going to be perfect, but it's the great, foundation for you to, swipe and take inspiration from. I think it definitely is a cheat code because I used to spend a lot of my time doing research, and don't get me wrong, research is important, like you have to do it, but I started spending a little less time when I found out that, you can just look at the top 2-3 guys in your industry, see what they're doing, take inspiration from that, and just, go from there. I think it's a much easier and better approach because then you're not only going off of your information that you found, but you're going off of information that is, pretty much already working in the market.
I like that. Yeah. So what's your next step in terms of developing your copy skill? Like, what are you focusing on these days to get better?
Dude, just the same thing. And it's the boring answer, but yeah, just keep writing and getting feedback. Like that's the way I'm getting better. Like I'm not really, as I said before, I'm not really a fan of buying course after course after course. So, I have like, 2 people looking at my copy right now, like on a regular basis, and I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to keep growing by doing the same thing over and over again, just writing a lot of copy, getting it reviewed, tweaking it, and also testing out in the market, as we keep going back to, actually seeing how my copy does, like my client's running a webinar in like an hour or something. So I'm going to see how many sales we generate from that, see what my copy's at for webinar scripts and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's really just the action, feedback, consistency. I'm just following that. And, who knows the next steps. I'm looking maybe to land one more big client and then probably just lock it off there and just write for those guys. And as you said, sometimes like, it's the boring work that has to be done. But if you do it, you're going to get ahead of so many people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when you got into the industry, I mean, like, how did you find the clients that you're working with today? Like, what was the process of, I don't know, deciding the industry that you wanted to write in, or like maybe when you found that industry, like how did you get into that?
It's hard because there's a lot of bad clients. Like you have to really be careful. First of all, there's a lot of bad clients. I will say that, and we can get into that a bit later, but that's not really the main topic here. But you have to be careful who you deal with. That's a big lesson that I learned. I mean, finding clients for me, it was hard until I got a proven system on how to do it. Like, and this is the thing, we talk about a system, like sometimes it works for some people, sometimes it doesn't. Like, you don't want those kind of systems. You want systems that are usually crushing it for the majority of people. And the thing that's hard about outreach is that it does change. Like, it's not this one thing where it's like, okay, write this email, send it out. It's like, I remember, I think it was around March time, we were on like a dojo call and you were like, yeah, I don't see this kind of email working anymore. I think we will have to switch to this. And it's like, once you're getting real-time feedback from these prospects, it really is like, it's tough. Yeah, as I said, because it just keeps changing and changing. I mean, for me, the main kind of systems and, mediums of how to get clients were Facebook and cold email. Like those are the main 2 for me. But for someone else, it might be LinkedIn and Upwork. I don't know. Like, I think that I do stand by an outreach show that everything works if you put in enough volume and work and reps, and you actually, like, I always say it to people, like, they're like, oh, I want a client. I'm like, okay, but you actually want a client? Because if you actually wanted a client, you just go crazy and you wouldn't stop until you had one. But a lot of people say they want a client, but then they're just sending, 10 copy and paste outreaches. And they're like, oh, bro, why isn't this working? It's like, no, it's not that's not working. It's you're not working, and it goes back to the business model idea. It's like drop shipping works, trading works, affiliate marketing works, copyright. Like you can make money with everything, really. It just depends on if you're working, So I feel like the same principles apply to outreach. And it took me a long time to figure this out. But if you have like a decent system in place, like a half decent system, and you just consistently take action on it, whatever that may be, it's pretty hard not to sign a client. Like I remember I was telling you, I had, let's just say one more spot open for a client. I was like, okay, I want to make a bit more money. So I literally just went crazy for 2 to 3 days on outreach, just non-stop outreaching to business owners, anyone I had previous contact with, and literally landed a 5K a month retainer within like 3 days. It's like, I don't want to make it seem like easy because it's not, but when you actually want something, it's very different than just wanting it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you want to get a client and you only approach 5 people, it's like you don't really want a client. You just want to feel like you're making progress, And do you think that there's like a sales cycle for how long it takes to close a client from day one to, let's say you're taking the right amount of action? A lot of people ask me that. They're like, how long does it take to Or everyone's asking me all the time, you know. They're always asking, you know, like, no, but seriously though, it is a question I hear all the time. It's like, how long does it take to get a client? For me, my experience has been 3 months of like from getting started to getting a client. With a potential business, they usually take around 3 months, the sales cycle. Have you had an experience that's different or similar to that?
It really, I think so for me, it just really depends on how complex their hiring process is. Some of them will have you jumping through like 25 loopholes, but like before they even like get on a call to interview you. Some of them will be very quick. So for example, with some clients, all I've had to do is just write like a couple of trial emails, and then we literally get on a call and it's done, right? But then with some others, it's like, okay, original outreach, they don't respond. You have to send like freaking 15 follow-ups. Then they get back to you. Then you have to do this trial project. Then they go out on holiday for a month, and then they like it really does depend for me. I've never really had like this set structure. I feel like the ones who have been burned before by copywriters and freelancers are always the ones that take longer to close, because they're just more skeptical naturally. You have to do more of yourself. You have to show more of your skills before you actually get inside their business. But the ones who, you know, are pretty fresh in you know, hiring freelancers, copywriters, kind of in the internet marketing industry, like they don't take too long to close. And I feel like a game changer for me, just like, you know, slightly pivoting, still on topic, but is really just reaching out to people who have already shown an interest in hiring copywriters. So this was like kind of,
It's big.
one of my little secrets that I did, that I used to close. But what I would do is when I was you know, hunting for clients, what I would do is I'd go on Facebook and I'd search the word copywriter, or I'd search the words like hiring copywriter or something. So then every single person who's ever hired a copywriter in all like the groups, they would all come up. So then I just DM them. And it doesn't matter whether they did it in 2022 or it was 3 months ago. I just DM them like, yo, you're looking for a copywriter? Like, are you guys onboarding anymore? Stuff like that. And I got loads of responses, and then I actually landed a client from doing that. So yeah, I feel like there are some businesses that don't think they need email list managers, copywriters, whatever you want to call yourself. But there are some businesses that really, really, really value copywriters. So it all depends on where they are. And usually it's the bigger businesses that value you more than the fitness coach with 2K followers. So I would be shifting towards bigger business instead of those kind of guys. But yeah, that was one of my little secrets, just, you know, really hitting the people that have hired copywriters before, because, you know, and odds on are like they are looking for more copywriters. Because I think Yason in last interview, he was saying about how they're usually not just going to hire one copywriter. Like there will usually be multiple, maybe 2 or 3. So if they've got one right now, they're not against bringing on another one. It's not like you have to get that guy fired and then you go in. It's like you can just work together with him. So yeah, I think that's a bit of, let's say, a glimmer of hope for people. They think that, you know, once they hire a copywriter, that's it, it's done. But it's not really like that. You know, the bigger teams, the bigger companies, they value copy. They want as many as they can. And to be fair, credit to Alan Soltanich, because I learned this from him, but he always speaks about this concept of hiring in pairs. So instead of hiring just one person, hire the 2 people for the same thing, and they'll just start to compete with each other. And the worst comes to worst, if one of them's bad, you just fire them and you still got a good guy. So it like I've seen a lot of people actually do that. And I was thinking to myself, like, if I got hired against another copywriter, like I would work so much harder. But like no one's done that, because I would just want to be that guy like 24/7. And I'm like that as well when it comes to trial projects. And I know I'm up against other copywriters, like I have to beat them. Otherwise, I don't know, man. It's just, it's not good for me. So yeah, I think having that competition is actually something that companies value. So don't be scared to approach these big companies. That's my biggest advice.
But the thing is, like, it's going to work for the people that actually do it the right way, the people that actually take the right action. You know, like they're actually going to take it and it's going to work. And there's going to be another strategy that someone that's using their brain is going to come up with within 6 months' time. Maybe it's like on Instagram, you know, on Instagram, they're like, all right, well, I'm going to approach business owners on Instagram that have like posts every single day. And I'm going to come up with a unique way of approaching them. And I'm going to make my Instagram page look really, really professional so that I come across as a professional. And it works. And there's a copywriter I know that like has, well, I've actually been coaching him. He's in the dojo. You know him. And he hit 10K a month. But when he was getting clients, what he would do is he would send a video DM in Instagram. And he had like a really, really well done profile. He had like lots of really, really high quality photos of himself. Like the captions were good as well. And he would approach business owners and he would be like, like send this video like, hey, like blah, 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 whatever. But he was confident, he was clear, he was direct, his message was compelling, and people were like, yeah. And he got to 10K like that. And, he tried the same strategy last year, it wasn't working so much. He messaged me, he's like, the video pitching is not working anymore. I'm like, what do you mean it's not working anymore? He's like, yeah, I did the same volume and it's not giving me the results. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do? He's like, and I kid you not, within a month, he had come up with a new strategy, different platform, different approach, and closed was it 4K or 3K? I think it was 4K, but it might have been 3K. But like he literally sent me a message 2 weeks ago. He's like, Matt just closed a $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month client, with the whatever other approach that he's now been working on. So, like what we've been talking about is like use your brain, get a coach that can, really give you the direct feedback that you need. Follow what a mentor tells you to do, increase the volume so that you can get real feedback. Don't overthink things. Don't like, sit there and like get the perfect process. Is there something else that you would tell people that you think really helped you go from, you were at like what, 1K at the beginning of the year? Like what is the other thing that you did? I mean, probably going to tell me just consistency, but what else was there?
Yeah, it's actually funny that you say that. I remember someone asked me when I just hit 10K, I was like, bro, I swear you were like 1K like not too long ago. Like what changed? And I told them nothing changed. I just kept doing the same thing. So yeah, that's one thing I'd say. But two, I mean, with landing clients, like I think there's a quote. It's like, the thing that you want is going to take a lot more time and effort than you think that it is going to take. So, and that is very, very true. Like once you get a working system, don't expect it to work straight away. Like just do not. Like it, even though I had a good system on my hands, I had good principles, it took me a couple months to get going. And sadly, people don't want to wait a couple months. They don't want to wait a month. They don't want to wait. So they just want it now. And when they don't get it, they just, I guess they quit or they give up. So if you're willing to wait, if you're willing to delay gratification, I feel like you can do a lot in life. Not just sign clients, but I mean, it's the same with copy, right? Like all of the beginners, right? Where everyone who's starting out in copy, their first thought is, how do I sign a client? I would say to them, like, your thought should be, how do I get good at this thing before I sign clients? Because I'm very against people trying to sell a service that they don't even know how to fulfill. Like, I'm very against it. So I remember one guy asked me, it was like, hey, bro, like, how do I sign clients? I'm not good at copy. I'm like, get good at copy.
Yeah. I suck at the thing I want to sell. Can you tell me how to sell it?
It's like, it's kind of scamming people. In my opinion, it's scamming people because you don't know how to fulfill the service you're trying to sell. Like, so yeah, don't be that person. Anyways, I'll just say, just a big thing that business in general has taught me is patience. Like, patience is honestly one of the number one things you can have in this game because, as I said, it's not going to come instantly. You're going to take massive L's. Like, I've taken some big L's in this game. I've taken big losses, but like, what's your other choice, man? Like, what's your other choice? Like, for me, it was always either, it's the usual, but go to uni, go get a 9 to 5. Like, I was at that kind of period in my life, or I just make this thing work. And no matter how many losses I took, I always chose this route, which was making this thing work. Because, what was my other option? Just go to a university that I didn't like? No, so I just stuck at it. And if you're genuinely patient in this game, get a mentor, follow exactly what they say, they're the right person as well, take action, get feedback, do it consistently, I don't see how you can't win, in my opinion. I really don't see how you can't win. Like, it's the simple, boring advice that's always going to work. And I've never been looking for, tricks and hacks myself. I just look at the simple advice that just works and I just implement that to a T. And yeah, I guess it's been working up until now.
Yeah, I like that. There is one challenge though, and I'd like to know what you think of this. It's like when you're at the 1K and you're not seeing the results, because you said that you just kept going. How do you, it's not about like, not the giving up side of things or quitting, but like, is this working? The inner doubt. How do you know that you're taking the right action? Because there's people that are at 1K also taking a lot of action every single month and they don't get results after they do stuff. And I would challenge them and say like, hey, if you're not getting results still, it's probably about volume. But there has been 1 or 2 people that I've worked with over the years that were like, I'm putting in on the reps. And I was like, yeah, I guess you are. But like the strategy altogether was off. It's like, why were you doing that? It's like, well, my coach told me to do that. I was like, well, I don't think that strategy was the best way to go. So like, how do you find the balance between that, like persevering, doing something until you get it right, and like knowing when something is just not worth like doubling down on, and like, maybe not pivoting, but like just maybe tweaking things and making it a little different.
Yeah, completely understand. So I think that's where getting the right coach really does come in. Like you can't make these decisions like from a course. Like you've got to have someone where you can go, yo, here's what I'm doing every single day. Is this the right thing or not? Because I'm stuck at this result right now. It hasn't been increasing. Is it just a means of me being patient, or am I just doing the complete wrong thing? So that's the first thing I'd say, is that's where getting a coach comes in. And like, if I'm being totally honest with you, like I don't know how people operate without mentors. Like with anything I do in life, I'm always looking for someone to guide me who's ahead of me. I think it's the most valuable thing you can invest in, like one of the most valuable things you can invest in, like for sure. 100%, no doubt. And that's why, in every situation in life, whether that's copy, whether that's, I don't know, even boxing or something, like I'm always looking for a coach, looking for someone to guide me who's ahead of me. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is really just like that feeling of, hey, this isn't working, like that self-belief just going, it doesn't really go away. Like I'm going to be honest, it's just going to have to sit there for a while, and you're going to be uncomfortable with it. But as I said before, like what's your other choice? Like go and live a life you don't want, or just like, it's crazy to me how much my life has changed in 1 year. Like 1 year of just sitting down and doing the work has now set me up for like, I don't want to say the rest of my life, but like a pretty good few years. Like I'm very happy with my life and I enjoy my life a lot more than if I just didn't do the work. And I just gave in to like this little self-belief of, oh no, this doesn't work. Like, who cares? Like that voice is going to be there. So it's kind of your choice to listen to it or not. And I just chose not to listen to it. Kept pushing. I had good mentors. This is the thing. I had good mentors who were telling me, hey, you're doing the right things. Like there's not much more I can give you. Just keep doing them and you're going to see results. Like it's kind of impossible that you don't, because this system not only has worked for me, not only has worked for others, but it can work for you and it's starting to work for you, but you're just going to have to wait a bit. And that's the thing. It's all about waiting and putting in the reps. And it's so boring. I get that. People want to hear the secrets. That's the secret, That's the secret. Putting in the reps.
Cut that. Don't tell them it's the secret. No, but yeah, no, really, I like that. And I think that the big thing as well is, that at the end of the day, coaching is not actually about new information. Coaching is about helping people to think independently. That's what I think, at least. I think that, the difference between having like a specialist is going to do it for you. You're going to pay somebody to do it for you. A coach is going to empower you to do the thing. Because at the end of the day, like a coach is like going to teach you how to fish, not give you a fish, right? Like why didn't somebody say to me, like, how would you write this email? It's like, well, then you should pay me my copywriting rates. I tell like copywriters, they're like, oh, what would you say here? It's like sometimes I give them a little bit of like lines here and there, but most of the time I don't want to write the email. The second I write the email, we're going to have problems because now I'm writing the email. You know what I mean? So it's like that's I think the thing is like coaching. The value behind a coach, a good coach, is that they're going to first of all challenge you, but when you are taking a lot of action, when you are doing the thing that you really should be doing, you're going to get confirmation that it's the right thing. And I think confirmation is extremely valuable. Like it's so much more valuable than people realize. Like people think, oh, but I already know that. It's like, good. I actually pay people to tell me stuff I already know. I want that because it tells me that I can prioritize that more and spend even more time on that thing, you know? Whereas like, if I'm, like I paid a coach. I remember I paid a coach in 2022, invested $12,000, and I learned a lot of things. But I would say the most valuable things I learned from that engagement was the stuff that he taught me that, well, it didn't teach me. The stuff that I was already doing, and he was telling me, I like that. That's good. Keep doing that. That's a really great idea. Like, I like the way you came up with that idea. Like, I like the way you thought about that process. That makes sense. Do that more. And I was like, okay. So like that coach really taught me, just taught me how to continue to do the things I was already doing well and to trust myself more. And showed me where I should trust myself more because I'd already figured that out. And it's like having that guide to just say, hey, you are actually taking the right action here. You are taking the right action here. You know, you need to relook at this part of what you're doing, get feedback and change that a little bit. But this stuff you're really good at, you know, like you can't put a price on that. Imagine how many hours you save when you do that. So my message, at least for people listening to this interview, that they think to themselves like, oh, I got to learn more stuff. It's like, yeah, it's good to learn stuff from a course, but never underestimate the value of information you already know that you're already doing. And somebody confirms that that's the right stuff to do, because now it's just told you like, hey, you are investing your time in the right place. And the investment of your time is like some of the, you know, like that's the most important asset you have is your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. It's like sometimes all it takes is someone reminding you of the things that you already know. Like that's, and it just, I don't know how to explain it. It just gives you that extra confirmation, you know, like I think a good example is if you go to church and you listen to the you know, the pastor say, you know, like we all know, like, I don't know if you read the Bible, but I read the Bible and I know all these concepts, but when someone else reminds you of them, it really just reinforces it in you, like in a way that I can't even explain. It's like you've kind of relearned it. And it's the same with copy. It's like, even if, it's very hard to explain, but yeah, it's, if the copy's good and, you know, someone's pointing out what you're doing well and reminding you to keep doing the thing, it's kind of like you've relearned it again. And I feel like that's why investing in a coach to actually get closure on what you're doing and confirmation, as you said, it's super valuable, because like without it, you're never going to know. You're always going to have that thought in your mind, like, am I doing the right thing? Like, okay, I'm stuck at this result, but is it because I'm doing the wrong thing? Like, you're never going to know. But when you invest in that coach, like, I don't think of it as an investment. I think of it as peace of mind, because then like you've proven you can put in the work, you've proven you have the patience, but now like the only thing that was left was, hey, am I doing the right thing? And now once you have that right mentor to tell you, yes, you are, keep doing it, you now have peace of mind. So all you have to do is just keep putting in the work, and eventually you'll get to the result. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And I mean, even the coaches that I've invested in that didn't do too well for me, you know, the one I told you about, the 15 grand from last year, it's interesting because I was learning a lot about how to do, I was supposed to learn. So I was learning how to, you know, improve at marketing. You know, it was a marketing course, and I went through the course and it was like, not so good. And I gave the founders some feedback, actually, because I said to them, you know, like I would do this and I would recommend you do this, because I tried your approach and it didn't work in the way I was expecting it to. And so I made a few tweaks and it was working now based on my tweaks I made. And I got on the call with them and I actually showed them my approach, and they were like, whoa, yeah. So I went through the course. I didn't get the value from it. I tweaked it a little bit. It worked. Once I tweaked it, I shared it with the founder. The founder was like quite impressed about the changes. And so although it didn't really find that I got any value for the 15K, what I did actually realize was like, here's a business owner that's making millions and millions of dollars a year teaching people this process. And I went ahead and came up with something that actually impressed them to the point where they actually wanted to start incorporating that into their own product and their offer. And it's like, I guess I do kind of get marketing more than I thought I did. You know, because like before that, I was like, oh yeah, no, there's a knowledge gap. Like you said, I was like, there's clearly a knowledge gap here. Like I don't know what they know. And then when I was in there and I made it better, for at least for my industry, it probably works great for somebody else. It didn't work well for me what they were teaching, but it's like I made it better for myself. I was like, okay, actually, like, yeah, like I get this stuff. And that confidence was really valuable. Like I would say that 15K, even though I didn't learn anything from them directly, what I learned from the fact that I was able to troubleshoot that and actually come up with something even better for myself and make more money for myself and my clients, it was like, yeah, like I am pretty damn good at this, and like it was a nice like confirmation for myself.
Exactly. And I like that you mentioned the confidence aspect, because I can touch upon that actually. I think confidence is honestly one of the number one things you can have in this industry, especially if you're writing copy. If you're writing copy, like there's two parts of it. Like if you're writing copy and you're not confident in the product, it's going to bleed through in the writing. Like it's just really not going to sell. But I think the second thing, which I want to get at a bit more, is like actually taking on these low quality clients. Like I'll take you back to my first ever client. Let's just say I always want to put the blame on myself. So I didn't deliver him results, and I always want to put the blame on myself. And I think the blame is me onboarding him because I didn't vet him at all. So long story short, I did a project for him, and I figured out, he basically, long story short, he couldn't drive any traffic to it at all. So then when we got 0 sales, it was my fault. Obviously, I was the one who did the project, but let's just say the business wasn't set up in a way in which I could have done my best work at all. So that project, although sure, like I wasn't 100% at fault, you still got those thoughts like, am I even good at this? And it really does eat away at you. It's like, cool, I'm worried about how to sign clients, but can I even write copy? And it really does affect your confidence. So if anyone's listening to this, I would say always qualify clients, because that confidence drop you're going to get from when, they're not like, let's just say, the best business to work with. And we can give some criteria later on, but like when they're not the best business to work with, you're not going to be in an environment where you can provide your best work and your best results. That is going to affect your confidence. It's not a question of if, it's a question of yes, it definitely is going to affect your confidence. So you need to be careful with that. Like you need to go into businesses that are already crushing it. Like they're already like 85, 90% of the way there, and you just help them get to 95, 100%. Like you just add a little bit more. You don't want to go working with like startups that will take like a year before you see any like significant results. You want to work with people who are already doing really well, and then you just add like a little extra spice. You add a little bit of extra revenue, and you just learn so much from working with them. I think those are the businesses you need, especially talking from a confidence perspective. Like when you're coming into these massive businesses and you're producing like real conversion assets for them, like you're like, yo, I can do this. It gives you a real big confidence boost. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is when you do go work with a business that doesn't have like things figured out, the $300 you make is not really worth it, because like think about how much we were just talking about me spending $50,000 on that coaching, and the takeaway from that coaching was I got more confidence in my abilities because I was able to solve something that they didn't even have the solution for yet. So that $15,000 increased my confidence. It's the only way I can justify an ROI from that work. I think somebody pays me $300. Not only have I spent, let's say, 20 hours on something that wasn't, like, I don't know how to write it or what to write, or it's a friend that whatever. Now I also don't get results. It also affects my confidence negatively. Like if you think about confidence also as like a bank account. Now you've just lost money in the confidence bank account, because now you're like, I suck at this. I'm not so good at this. And for anyone that's been listening to some of the other interviews as well, like you may have heard me talk about this before. And it's this idea that when you work with a business, let me start with the small businesses first, and then get better, and then work with the medium-sized businesses and get better and work with the big businesses. But I'm sure, Henry, you've also, maybe started off thinking that, but like you want to work with the best businesses even from day one, right? Because it's like the best businesses, they have the systems, they can teach you the skills, they can teach you the gaps. It's not like you have to go in there and save the day. It's the small businesses you want to avoid, the ones that don't know how copy works, don't even know what copywriting is. It's like, don't work with them. Like maybe get the client temporarily to get a couple of bucks, but you just got to be careful that you don't get yourself wrecked by the idea that they're like going to be disappointed by your work. Like the first business I ever worked with was making $2 million a year. Second business, $20 million a year. So my first two clients were both 7 and 8 figure businesses. And I've worked with a few people below $1 million a year. I have worked with them, but like 3 years after I started. So like when I was in there, I really understood, like I knew how much my copy really impacted their business and how much it was their responsibility to get things going. Like I already knew like how much my copy made an impact. Whereas if I think I had just started there, I would have had a very hard time and I would have really burned a lot of my self-confidence.
100% agree with that. I think that's a great piece of advice for anyone. Like, if I'm being honest, like the first few months, if I had to go back and restart my copywriting journey, I think I would just focus the first few months on actually getting good at copy, like not worrying about clients at all. As you said, like maybe get one client, make a few extra bucks, sure, but like I would just mainly focus on getting good at copy and then just immediately working with the big businesses. Because as you said, like the small businesses, when you're like, you know, when you have like a few years of experience under your belt, you know, you're kind of an all-round marketer, not just like someone who writes copy, but you understand how the whole thing works. Then you can come into these smaller businesses and you can actually, you know, consult or do work for them and actually make a big impact. But when you've been writing copy for 3 months and like you just, the experience isn't there. So I think, just working with the big businesses is a very big cheat code that you can just go and implement straight away. Like just focus on getting good at copy and go work with these businesses. Like, and as you said, I think a very important point that you made is don't expect to be perfect for your clients. Like, don't go in and be like, oh no, if this isn't perfect, like they would rather you make mistakes and learn with them and learn together than you just going in and being perfect. Like they don't expect that at all. They don't expect that at all. I think, it's all about testing. Once again, it's all about testing and finding out what works, what doesn't work. And, you know, I was actually on a call with one of my clients, I think 2 days ago. And, you know, as I said, we're doing this like emergency webinar. It's the first one we've actually done. We never usually do webinars. And he was just like, dude, honestly, if I'm being for real, I don't care if we make $0 from this. At least we learn. At least we make mistakes and we learn. So when we do it next month, if we do it next month, then we have the lessons there and we can go and implement. It's not like, you know, we have to go there, we have to make 300K. It's, I don't even care if we make 0. At least we get the lessons, you know, and that's a big part of it. Like, don't expect to be Mr. Perfect. Like, go in there and just test a bunch of stuff and you're going to learn so much along the way. I think that's another thing as well. Like, so for example, with one of my current clients, I'm also getting copy chiefed by the head of marketing. And, you know, the head of marketing of a big company, like they know what they're doing. Like they're not just some random bum off the street. Like they know what they're doing. So if you're getting copy reviewed by them every single day, every single asset that you produce is getting reviewed by them, you're going to get good very quickly. It's essentially a free mentor. And actually, I wouldn't even say a free mentor. Like you're getting paid to be mentored. Like it's the ultimate deal. So yeah, big businesses, you know, it's where it's at, man.
Yeah, that's the best for me as well. Like when I was working with the $20 million a year business, I had a copy chief. Copy chief reviewed my copy every single day. Didn't give me like, I would say the guy actually gave me some pretty difficult feedback. It was really difficult. I really had to use my brain to figure out what the feedback meant. The feedback would be like, no. The feedback would be like, this isn't good. The feedback would be like, I don't know what you're trying to say. And that would be like the whole email would just be that's the feedback for the whole email. It wasn't like this sentence, change this, change. So it's like very, very vague. And so I had to use my brain, but I actually think it was good for me. I actually thought it was like the right approach for someone like me because I actually was forced to troubleshoot my own work. And so few people troubleshoot their work that they don't learn how things work within, you know, or like they just don't know like the whole thing. So like I used to use a Windows computer. Like I actually downloaded Photoshop, and I got Photoshop on the thing because I was trying to edit something. I think I was trying to edit like a graphic for like copywriting, or like I wanted to add something to my email or something or other, or try add I don't remember. I got Photoshop a while back, and I couldn't didn't want to watch the videos on how to use Photoshop because there's like 50 different features on just one panel. So I was so overwhelmed by the videos on YouTube. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to figure it out. Every single thing I want to do, I'm just going to figure it out myself. I'm going to like Google a couple of things, but I just figured it out. And I always feel very, very comfortable with Photoshop as a tool because I just kind of figured it out the way how it works just by playing with it until the point where I knew how to do it. Same with sending emails for clients. It's like I didn't want to go watch all these videos. I just kind of like figured it out, played with the software a little bit. Now I very much understand how the software works. Same thing the other day. I was busy like setting up the new website for Copy Basecamp, and I was just trying to figure out some of the domain settings and like just playing with it myself. You know, Googling a little bit, but like mostly playing with it. Now I know how it works. You know, so I think that playing with something with the curiosity is also how you really, you know, get better at something. And you don't get the opportunities to do that if you have somebody always answering everything for you with the courses. And I think that's part of why people sit with courses and they're like, watch this for this. They don't learn anything. It's all theory. It's like, you need to do it. You need to do it. It's like, why read a book on karate? Go and actually practice karate. Go and punch some, go and punch. Go and like punch the air and like go and do the moves, right? Like what the copywriters are reading books on how to write copy and not writing copy, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 100%. Like, I agree with everything you just said. I think, yeah, just taking action is always going to be, because I feel like a lot of people, you mentioned it before, but a lot of people go through courses because they want to feel like they're doing something. And it's something that we see in the marketing industry a lot. Like a lot of customers will buy whatever product you have, whether it's like a mass market biz op program or it's an e-com product. They will buy a product just to feel like they've done something for their solution. Like they haven't put in the work yet, but it's like, yeah, you know, I bought the course, so it's there. Like we have something that's going to solve this problem. Like, and I've done this in the past as well. I'm guilty of this, but it's just kind of how the human brain works. It's like, you just want to do something to feel like you're doing something about the problem instead of actually going and taking action and implementing it. Like, as you said, like, I think a good example is if you want to go learn a language, fly to the country and just speak to loads of people there and just expose yourself to it 24/7 instead of like picking up a book on like how to learn Italian. Put the book down, go to Italy and start speaking to people. Like that's how you actually learn, by taking action. And I think to put it into a copywriting perspective, like what I do every single day, I feel like getting new information in every day is very important. So I dedicate like 30 to 45 minutes per day of learning. Like I want to take in new information. So whether that's listening to a call recording or something like that, I will dedicate like 30 to 45 minutes. But then the rest of the day, I just take action on the things that I'm learning, whether that's doing client work or getting feedback on this. You know, I guess that's also taking in new information, but it is, you know, part of taking action. But yeah, it's just action, because that's how you learn. You learn through taking action. You know, if you don't take the initial action of writing the email, you're never going to learn through the feedback, because otherwise there's no email to, you know, give feedback on. So I think that it's important to always be learning, but when you're always learning and you're doing nothing with that information, that's when it starts to become a bit of a problem. Like, as you said, the copywriting books are good. Like the books that, you know, Gary Halbert recommends, you know, Dan Kennedy, like all of these, you know, OG copywriting books, like they're amazing. But if you just read those all day instead of writing copy, like you're kind of not doing anything with the information you're learning. You're wasting your time. Whereas if you just read like 10 pages a day and the rest of the day or the rest of the work day was, you know, writing copy and getting feedback on it, you'd learn way more, and you'd be in a much better spot. So yeah, taking action always over learning new stuff.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about your routine and the secrets to how you improve every single day. But yeah, it's just like 30 to 40 minutes. You consume some content and then you go out there and take action. What would you say to somebody that wants to break into the industry, that doesn't have clients yet? How do they take action? Because I know people are going to say that to me. They're going to be like, oh, but I don't have a client. Like, how do I take action?
Yeah, I think just still writing copy. Like, let's just say I had 0 clients right now, like I would still be writing around the same amount of copy every single day. And I write like a decent amount of copy every day. So I would say, yeah, just like what I say to people who don't have clients, like pick a few big gurus in your space. I don't know, like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, like these kind of people, and just write emails for them. Write some sample emails for them. Worst case, it's something for your portfolio later on. But like, yeah, it's just action, feedback, consistency. Like, take action. If you're looking to break into the industry as an email copywriter, right? Every day you've got to be writing emails. You've got to be getting feedback on your emails. I wouldn't say every day, like maybe at least once a week or something. And you've got to be doing that consistently. And I would also, I think, when you're new to the industry, when there's a lot of new information to be learned, I think that's when courses, programs, these things are very beneficial. But like, when you've been in the industry, like 2-3 years, you kind of just start to hear the same thing. So that's when like getting a one-to-one, coach is best. But I'm not saying if you're breaking into the industry, don't get a one-to-one coach. Like, absolutely, if you can, like, I recommend everyone get a mentor as soon as possible. If I'm going to be honest, like I'm very big on this topic. Like, I always harp on getting a mentor because it's the thing that helped me the most. It was never like this one program or course that I went through. It was always having a coach who gave me feedback. Like, that was the thing that accelerated my progress,
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, writing copy for people that already have, writing copy for businesses that already have like copy that they're sending out every single day. It's like such an easy way to start to practice. And if you want to break into a different space too, right? Like, even if you do have clients and you want to start, let's say, writing copy in an industry that you're not in currently, like, go and sign up to some email lists, go and look at the ads library, go and look at the ads that are being written or are being run on YouTube, and go and practice, go and write that stuff. Otherwise, where else are you going to get improvements? You've got to, there's always this chicken and egg. It's like, oh, people want to see my portfolio. I don't have a portfolio. It's like, well, then write one. You don't need a client to write, like, you don't need a client to have permission to write a portfolio. You can just write one. Go write one,
That's what I tell people all the time, man. Like, it's just, there's always something that can be done. Like, I always say this, you can always do something. Like, there's never, okay, you don't have a portfolio. Like, why are you complaining to me that you don't have a portfolio? Like, go pick a guru, write 3 emails for him, put it in a Google Drive, and now you have a portfolio. Congrats. Like, it's very simple, but yeah, like, kind of linking to that, there's always something you can do about any situation, and there's always something you can do with your time. This is another big lesson that I've had. Like, if I'm just sitting around and doing nothing, like, well, that rarely ever happens, because I always try and push forward, like, in my mind, like, what can I do that's actually going to move the needle right now? If I've already written 10 emails today, my brain's burnt out, I don't want to do like creative tasks anymore, I'll just write another post on Facebook. Like, that's never going to hurt me. That's always going to benefit me. Like, there's always something that can be done. There's always some type of action that's going to help. And especially if you're a beginner, like, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to learn. So yeah, I think that's my biggest advice. Just always try and be taking action over, learning new information. Because as we've already touched upon, if you're reading books 24/7, but you're not taking action on the information, then you are wasting your time. It's not like, oh, you might be wasting your time. You are wasting your time, because the information is there for you to do something with it. And if you're not doing anything with it, like, it's just a waste of space in your brain.
Yeah, no, I think we're on the same page with this one. I've had too many times I've had to just say, like, don't overthink it, just go take action. Don't overthink it, just go take action. So I really appreciate the chat. I really appreciate going through all of this with you. I think it's the cheat code. It's the cheat code to copywriting success. Take action, get feedback, consistently do it. If you can't afford coaching, go and work and get money to afford it. I did that. I mean, I just went into debt. If you want to know what I did, I just put $5,000 on my credit card when I first got started, and I didn't have the money, and I didn't have the job to pay for it. I was making $300 a week, working 8-hour shifts at a coffee shop. So like, I didn't quite know how I was going to make the money back to pay for the investing, but it's like, hey, I'm young. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. To be fair, my situation was very ideal because I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. I was still actually living with my parents, so I didn't have like crazy expenses either. But I took a risk, I took a risk. I took a risk. I bet it on myself, but I was willing to go into debt. And I think there's some young people, I'm not going to say this is like the thing that you should do if you have a family, like you go and jump into this industry. I'm saying for the young people that don't have a lot of responsibility yet, and you're like, oh, but I'm broke. It's like, I don't really know. Like what $3,000, $4,000, you can just work really hard for a month, two extra months, like just take double shifts and find the money if you need to invest in a coach, if that's what you want to do. Because the alternative is to sit there and be confused and be lost. I mean, let's just look at your situation for a second. I mean, you were at 1K. Let's say that you weren't taking action and getting feedback, and now fast forward 7 months, 8 months, you're still at 1K. What is the cost of not doing what you had done? If you add all that time together, we're like looking at, this is like a $40,000, $50,000 worth of, like, just the dollars from there. We're not even talking about what your current experience is how that's gonna launch the rest of your career. Like how much sooner you're gonna be launched into the next part of what you do, where you make even more money. But like, it's already $50,000. So if you can't afford the $4,000 or $5,000 for coaching, like think about, can you really afford the $50,000? And I think that's a big thing. So if people want the cheat codes and if they want the secrets, where can they find you? Like, where can they get in contact with you?
Well, yeah, I'm mainly on Facebook and Instagram. My username is officialhenryw. Just go find me there. If you need any help, DM me. I'm not some type of guy that has an ego and just shuts off his DMs. Too busy. Like I'll answer you, so don't worry. But yeah, actually, just like I want to say one more thing before we do leave. Like, I love what you just touched upon there. Like, if you feel like you don't have the money, because I feel like in this industry we're sold how easy the opportunity is, etc. So we have a lot of people coming in who don't have a disposable income to go and invest in a coach. Let me tell you, if you really wanted to invest in a coach, you would get off your ass, you would go get a job, you would work for 12 hours a day, you'd save up all that money and you'd buy the program. Like, I remember, just really sorry, like I was on like minus £3 in my bank account or something. I worked a quick job for one day. I got like £40, which is like $60. And immediately I took that money and I just invested it into a program, low ticket program. But like every single penny at one point was just getting invested back in. So if you really, 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 really wanted a coach, or you really wanted to get good, you would get good. That's my final message.
Yeah, there's no excuse. I did it. Most people that I've talked with that are copywriters, they were willing to make that jump too. They took that risk, and I think it's part of the price you got to pay usually to be successful. And it's not a situation where you have to risk your life. We're talking, for most people, it's actually not life-changing money. It's working a little harder for a month or two, and it's actually a good thing. Like, if you can ask, or if you can pay, let's say $3,000, $4,000 to somebody else, it gets easier to ask for that kind of money too. Because now you're like, I remember the first time I paid $12,000 to that coach, that was actually the most I invested in a coach in one go before, in one go. And it was 2.5 years ago. It was like 12 grand. I spent 12 grand on the coach, and I thought to myself, that's quite a lot of money. I'm not used to that. I'm used to spending 7 grand, 6 grand, 12 grand's a lot, and it was only for one call a week for 3 months. So it was like $1,000 per call. So I thought that was quite a lot of money for me back then, but in 2023, I closed somebody for consulting for $15,000 for 101, and it was for $1,000 per call. So I remember the experience that I went through when I paid for the $12,000, $4,000 per call, and the value experience from that. And so when I quoted this person $15,000 for one-on-one calls, I didn't have I didn't doubt the price. I was like, this makes sense. This is the price. This should be the price. It's actually cheap. I should be charging more, which I do now, much more. But it's like, I charged that, and you know what? The guy renewed after 3 months. He paid me $15,000. 3 months later, he paid me another $15,000 for just one phone call a week. And I had a few other consulting clients that were the same. But like, it's interesting how I actually learned that from spending the $12,000. So I'm not saying you should go spend money and expect to make money. I'm just saying that when you get comfortable using money for something that you value, you better appreciate what business owners go through when they invest in somebody to help them. All right, that's all I got. thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And see you in Dojo. Take care.